Foundation's Lana Maloney is the Director of Restorative Resolutions, and Angela Nelson joined us as well. When we talk about restorative justice, we think about restoring relationships as well. What type of work is done between victims and the people who have caused them pain or harm? Lana.
So when the client comes to us and is referred to us, every single person who is listed as a victim on the police report are called by us. So we get in touch with every victim. Sometimes we have clients who come in who have done 12, 13. I had one fellow who had done 24 D&Es. And we get in touch with every single one of the victims. And we have a whole list of choices that the victims can do. A lot of times victims will say to us, I'm just so angry, I've gotten past this now, I don't want to have anything more to do with it. Sometimes the victims just need to be able to vent. Nobody's heard them. Nobody's listened to them. Nobody knows the kind of pain that's happened. The other part of the problem is in the regular criminal justice system, nobody alerts them to what's going on. They don't have any information about the criminal justice system. So for us, what we try and do is really hear what their concerns are. What we try and do is give them as much information as they possibly want. We offer information. For every single victim, their voice is heard by the judge because we include it in the report that we send to the court. So if they say to us, I would like that, I'd like this person in jail, that's what we put into the report. So we become the voice of the victim that's not normally heard. Right. I'm going to give you an example of what we call conciliation. I had a young fellow, he was about 32. He and 3 other fellows had broken into a number of homes in a small Winnipeg community. And as I was working through the victims on it, I went to see a young couple, and their home had been broken into on a night that they'd gone to church. On Friday evening, they'd gone to church to announce that they were pregnant with their first baby. So it was this joyous event. When they came home, their house was ransacked, and they were so dreadfully upset. When I went to see them, they did not want to see the offender face to face. They did not want to meet with the offender. But they had 3 questions that were burning for them. Okay. And one of the questions was the fellow that I was working with the leader of the pack? Was he the leader of the group? Okay. The other concern they had was, were they on drugs when they were in their house? And the other major concern for them was, were they being surveilled? Where's their house being cased? So were people watching them? Now, who's the only person that can give those answers to the victim?
Yeah, the person themselves, the perpetrator himself.
Absolutely. So I was able to go back and find out from the offender what, all of these questions and took them back to the victim. The other piece is that for every dollar that's lost, if there's money that's lost, Angela mentioned that she had stolen $2,000. For clients who steal money, any kind of financial loss, they have to be prepared to pay that back. I'm going to tell you something I'm very proud of. Our little program has paid back $1,200,000 to victims of crime in Winnipeg.
Now, that is incredible, man. I mean, seriously, that's overwhelming, because if people had gone to jail, that would not be a requirement.
Absolutely not. The other one is that, so that's a payback. When I talk about they have to be prepared to repair the harm to the victim, but they also have to be prepared to repair the harm that's been done to the community. And Angela has been very, very diligent. She's been given a certain number of community service hours. How many community service hours?
I started with 240.
She had 240 community service hours, and she's working those off, and she is making, actually you're learning an awful lot through the process, but she's giving back to the community. And I can tell you that, again, in our little program, our clients have done over 46,000 community service hours as part of their repair of the community.
Okay. Now, Angela, just for you, it was a company you're working for.
That's correct.
Now, how do you restore relationship? Was there anything you've been able to do with that company, or specifically to heal what went on for you?
Yes. What I did was write an apology letter to them. In detail, I wrote how they felt, and I realized it was important that they knew that I knew I had hurt them.
Right.
I was apologizing for what I did.
Sure.
I didn't ask for forgiveness because I don't expect that, but I wanted to know that I was sorry for what I did.
You're sorry that what you did for them, sure. And your intention, did you tell them that your intent is to pay them back sometime? Or
I already paid them back a long time ago.
Seriously?
Yeah, I paid them before I started my court, before my first court appearance. I already had paid them back.
That was because that was a sacrifice on your behalf, because that was money you had to earn, because your father didn't give you back the money that you'd given him.
No, because I spent it for him. Like I got groceries for him, I gave him money, that kind of thing. But I did pay back my old work as well.
I'm proud of you, Angela.
Thank you.
No, that's, I mean, you really, when you think about it from that point of view, would jail really have been the right answer? I mean, is this not a far better?
Well, from my opinion, I'm certainly not a prison abolitionist, Willard, and I think that there's some clients who are just not prepared to make the changes, but for those
But
clients...
for those that are, like when you think Angela's not very likely to be a reoffender.
I don't think so.
No, no, particularly because you know, you're saying, look, here was what I did, here's why I did it, I'm changing, you know, I want to be changed where I did that very thing that caused me to do it. I want to be changed there. I mean, you're working at that. I mean, these are very positive things.
I think it's important to say at this time that there are some particular offenses that we don't deal with.
Okay, let's talk. Can we talk about those?
Absolutely.
Sure.
We don't deal with sex offenses, not because we think that a restorative model wouldn't work, but it would take an awful lot of person power, and we have in Winnipeg a specialized sex offender unit with people who are trained to deal with sex offenders. So in our program, we don't take sex offenders. We also don't take family violence matters. We have a specialized unit, again in Winnipeg, that deals with family violence matters. We don't take trafficking in drugs. And the main reason we don't take that, we're not saying that it's a victimless crime, because certainly society is victimized, but it's really hard to identify a primary victim in those cases.
Right, so knowing the primary victim is a big part of your process.
Absolutely.
Okay, we need to take a break. We'll come back and continue our discussion here, looking at restorative resolutions. When we come back, looking at the issues behind criminal activity.